Imagine you're running one of the most iconic shows on late night television. Flagship program, huge studio, famous guests, top tier production. You're pulling in millions of viewers every week, or at least you used to. Now you're losing $40 million a year. That's the real story behind The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. A staple of the CBS lineup, with a production budget just north of $100 million per year. And yet, it's been quietly bleeding money. And just earlier this year, CBS made the call. Cancel it. Cut the losses. Maybe there might be a political angle to all of it. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does Colbert have to do with corporate events? Everything. Because what's happening in late night TV is a crystal clear reflection of what's happening in our industry. The cost of production is no longer justifying the return, and the audience's attention has fundamentally shifted. And that shift, it's already knocking on the ballroom doors of your annual sales kickoff, your flagship conference, or your global leadership summit. So today, I'm going to unpack what this means for all of us in the event world and what smart companies are doing to stay ahead. And if this feels big, it is. That's why we put together a new resource for event leaders navigating this exact moment. In the show comments and description, you can find a downloadable PDF that unpacks the deeper story behind the Late Show's cancellation and what it signals for the future of event formats, audience engagement, and ROI. You can download it right now and keep listening. We're about to dive into some of the key insights from that report, starting with the problem every event is wrestling with. So let's start with that problem. The old model for events, just like late night TV, was based on predictable patterns. Book a venue, stage a spectacle, invite your audience, deliver from a stage, send everyone home. A big show, a big budget, big impact. Hopefully. But the cracks in that model have been showing for years. Then COVID came along and made it impossible to ignore. Suddenly events went dark, ballrooms emptied, and we all had to figure out how to keep our audiences engaged from behind a webcam. And something interesting happened. We found out we didn't need the ballroom to keep the people's attention. In fact, when done right, we could reach more people virtually than we could ever in person. Microsoft, for example, used to host its developer conference, Build, for 7,000 people in Seattle. But when they went virtual in 2020, they had 240,000 registrants. Same content, different format, way more reach, and way lower cost. And this wasn't just a fluke. Across industries, tech, healthcare, automotive, education, planners saw similar patterns. Virtual worked, hybrid worked, and micro events started to work. But not all of them worked well. Because here's the truth, just putting your event on Zoom isn't enough. You can't deliver a 3-hour general session to a distracted remote audience and expect them to stay glued to their screens. You've got to rethink everything from format and storytelling to interactivity and attention spans. What we're living through right now is what I like to call the attention economy. And in this new economy, attention is the currency. You're not just competing with other events. You're competing with Netflix, TikTok, inboxes, Slack notifications, a dog barking in someone's home office. You have minutes, not hours, to prove you're worth watching. And that's where the comparison to Colbert comes in. The show wasn't bad. It was polished. It was funny. I was a fan. But the model, the format, just didn't fit how people consume content anymore. So here's the question I want to ask every event marketer, every executive, and every planner listening right now. Are you designing events that fit your model or your audience's reality? Because if we keep trying to force people into outdated formats, we're going to lose them.
Planning a multi-day event or conference? Then you know how chaotic managing show content can get. Version issues, last-minute changes, and the post-show scramble to send out IMAG recordings. ShowSync is built to fix that. It's your central hub for managing presentations, media, and video recordings across your event, without the mess of cloud folders or lost file links. With ShowSync, your show content stays organized, your crew stays in sync, and your post-show video files are delivered faster and cheaper. so you can move on to the next big thing without chasing down drives. Learn more at showsync.ca, because your content should work as hard as you do.
Enjoying the show? Don't miss a single episode. Follow Production Value Matters wherever you get your podcasts. And for bonus content, tools, and event insights, head over to productionvaluematters.com and subscribe. Stay sharp, stay inspired. Production Value Matters.
So how do we fix it? What's the modern playbook for event success? It's not just about choosing virtual or in person. It's about strategic formatting. Let me walk you through 3 of the biggest shifts I'm seeing in the industry and how they're helping companies get better ROI, deeper engagement, and more flexibility. So virtual events. They are a cost-effective giant. Virtual is not dead. In fact, for many companies, it's just getting started. On average, virtual events can cost 60 to 90% less than in-person events. But remember that costs are not always a direct reduction. As I put it to a client the other day, this is a transfer of wealth. You eliminate venues, flights, hotels, catering, but that cost sometimes just shifts to production, albeit at a generally lower investment. But guess what? You often reach more attendees. A recent study found 74% of organizations saw increased attendance when they shifted to virtual. Virtual events generate mountains of data. Every click, every view, every download, it's trackable. And that means that it's better lead scoring, better insights to your audience and your attendees, and ultimately, better follow-up. Hybrid events end up being a flexible powerhouse, and it gives you the best of both worlds. You still get the energy of the in-person experience, but you also get that global reach, virtual flexibility, and extended content lifespan. You can then turn that live event into a content machine for your brand. Companies are recording keynotes, breakout sessions, and panel discussions, and then extending that content to online audiences long after the event. And then the small but mighty micro event. Look, they are small, focused gatherings. Think of under 200 people, a private round table with your top clients, a local roadshow, a pop-up experience. They're lean, they're targeted, and they're personal. And here's the kicker. They often deliver much higher ROI than any big splashy show. So what does this mean for you? Whether you're running a global event or internal summit, this isn't about trends. It's about solving real problems. So if your CFO is asking about cost, show them how hybrid formats stretch that budget further. If your CMO wants to get reach, show them how virtual content performs. And if your leadership wants deeper engagement, show them how a micro event can create much stronger connections. Look, at the company I run, we've helped companies evolve. We've turned massive in-person events into flexible hybrid experiences. We've turned a single conference into a roadshow and ROI and content engines. The means of production has changed. The audience has changed, but the goal remains the same. Create something worth showing up for. Thanks for listening to this episode of Production Value Matters, the Business Events Podcast. You can always find more insights and find copies of the reports that we create at productionvaluematters.com, where you can sign up and subscribe. If you're rethinking your event strategy and want to talk through some ideas, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time.
Production Value Matters, the Business Events Podcast, is brought to you by Byrne Production Services. To learn more about Byrne Production Services and how we can achieve your business goals, head over to byrneproductionservices.com. Thanks for listening.